Yo, Lee, what's up, bro? So, you want to know what it was like back in WCW 99 and 2000? God, it was a lot different than it was earlier, meaning like the late 90s. I think that at the time, like let's you have to really look at 96, 97, 98. Like, let's go back before that. Eric Bischoff in 90, we were both announcers. And in 91, they wouldn't let me manage anymore. Or, I could still announce, but I was like fourth string uh, announcer with Eric Bischoff. And at some point I had to go wrestle because they wouldn't let me manage anymore. I knew the next guy to retire would have, would have taken my spot who could talk as a color commentator on a fourth string level. Bottom line is, Bischoff used to tell me someday he's going to run this company. He's going to take Bill Watts out. And I'm like, are you crazy? And then he did. Didn't take Bill Watts out. He was already let go at that time. And back then I wasn't a big Bill Watts fan. Today I love Bill Watts. But at the time he was motivation for Eric Bischoff to, inspire himself and put himself out there. And he made a lot of pivotal moves that no one else was willing to make, that put him in the spot of executive producer of the show and then eventually running the whole show. And then I watched this, him tell us that we're gonna beat WWE, WWF at the time. And I'm thinking, like, what is he smoking? But he saw it, man. He just like everything that's ever happened to me that I talk about, and I see it before it happens. Does it happen right away? Never. You got to keep working, and you got to keep putting the work in. That's what Bischoff did. He worked tirelessly. He was like a pit bull, and he made things happen that people never thought in a million years would happen. Me being one of them, and I was living it at the time. And what had happened is like this like very quickly this foundation that we had started to grow and grow and grow, and then before you know it, it was like this humongous, you know, big company that we created, but the foundation was still like this, and the company had grown so fast, and people's contracts, get bigger. Happens the same thing in the NFL or your football over there. You get a guy who comes in and he signs at a a moderate salary, and then all of a sudden that player becomes a superstar. Now to hold on to that player, you got to pay him more money. And other people are going to get pissed, and the ego steps in. His shirt says it all right here. Ego kills talent. You know, people in the right place at the right time can make millions of dollars more than the guy that they're playing with, and maybe starting with on the same team. So salaries got out of control, and this monstrosity of a company, it's kind of like if your overhead's $100 million and you're making 150 million, you're happy. You're making 110 million, you're still happy. You make 40 million, now you're pissed. Meaning that your overhead's still 100 million. You just lost 50 million. Boom. And the stress level of those years, because the overhead was really high, the numbers were great. Like everybody talks about the rating numbers now, like they know what they are. bottom line is back when when I can't remember his name was, Jamie Kilner, I believe his name was, when he ended the company, when he terminated wrestling, we were drawing anywhere from a 3.8 to a 4.4. The WWE would kill to get those numbers today because they don't exist because Netflix, Hulu, now Apple, Marvel, they're all coming out with their own, stations. It's all on the app. Like that's what DDP Yoga is. I came up with our own station. And the bottom line is people were getting super stressed out. And to me, the biggest screw up of everything was when I was the world champ and I was in a feud with Jeff Jarrett. And there's a movie out right now called You Can't Kill David Arquette. And David was promoting Ready to Rumble, which was my movie too. And I came into work, I'll never forget, the building wasn't a huge building. It wasn't like 20,000 seaters. It was probably like 10. And we came in town and we were the buzz. And I was world champ. And I went in to meet with Eric. Actually, with Vince Russo was the boss, and they had just brought Eric in because Vince wasn't pulling it off. So they figured, well, let's put them together and see if they can come up with some stuff. And what ended up happening was them telling me that David Arquette was going to become the world champion. And I went, yeah, right. So what are we doing tonight? And they said it again. And I was like, are you guys should I leave now and I come back later? They're like, no, listen, David Arquette's going to go over. I go, how? And they said, it's going to be you and David against Jeff and Eric. And David's going to spear Eric and win. And whoever wins the match will be the world champion. And I was like, this is really not a good idea. Like, I tried to talk him out of it for, 20 minutes. But when it's all said and done, I'm just a player on TV. It doesn't matter, what play, what role I'm playing that day. They, write the checks and they tell, especially guys who are making $1 million plus like me, like this is what you're doing tonight. So it's not like you have a choice. So I went out there and did it. And it was a really bad idea. But David, 20 years later, decided to do this movie, this documentary. And I thought he was crazy when he first started it. But the more I watched and saw saw parts of the movie, I was like, man, they really have something here. This is really interesting. And how Cody Rhodes explained it to me was, Cody at that time was probably 14. And like, he didn't see it like, oh my God, David Arquette's got the world champ. They love David Arquette in the movie Ready to Rumble, his generation. So they weren't pissed at all. They kind of really liked David. And it's just pretty remarkable how it's all come full circle. So that's my David Arquette story. The whole business in itself at that time, when you're coming off such an incredible high like we had in 96, 97, 98, and even 99, towards the end of it, you could tell that it reminded me, like I said, of this building, this monstrosity that built up, and it was like strings like around it, like you could just pull the strings. Because it wasn't that Eric Bischoff or even Vince Russo were killing the company. The people who ran the company, this guy, Jamie Kilmer, for one, he hated wrestling. So you never had TNT and wrestling working together. Like today, if you watch TNT, you don't really get it over in the UK. But if you watch it here in our country, you'd see like, NBA superstars like LeBron James and, whoever, pick another group of players being splashed in there with Cody Rhodes or someone from AEW, and then you'd see some great movies and different sitcoms and different big shows, and wrestling is a part of it. Back then, that didn't happen. They hated wrestling. And now the WWE, they love wrestling. Vince McMahon's love what they do. So they had this really strong, powerful machine that wanted only the best. Over here, we had this big, strong, powerful machine that was getting sabotaged left and right. So, you want to know real stories? That's the real story. All right, man, I hope you enjoyed it. Now, go do your DDPY or else. Bang! Monkey. Hey, Lee, have a great day, buddy. Hope that helps you. Let me know. All right? See ya.